Welcome to another episode of In the Studio Live. This is the show where I get to pick the brains of some extremely fascinating people that I've tricked to come on my show. I'm your host, Bobby Balo. If you don't know me, I'm the mixing and mastering engineer at Raytown Productions, which is an online mixing and mastering studio. I also have a Facebook community. So if you're a music creator and you're trying to level up your music, you should stop by and say hi. It's called the Home Studio Fast Track. It's pretty awesome. I also have a YouTube channel. If you're not familiar, since we're streaming on YouTube right now, you probably are familiar, but it's Raytown Productions. Check that out. Lots of interesting video, music tutorials, all things to help music creators make better sounding music. So if you are here tonight and you've never seen one of my In the Studio live shows before, thank you so much for tuning in. This is an interactive conversation that I have with my guests. So don't hesitate to hop on the chat. Tell them, say hi, tell me where you're from, and join in on the conversation. This is a dynamic thing. We're living in an amazing time where we can do this kind of stuff and interact directly with people that are watching. So if you have questions about something that we're talking about or have an opinion like the internet always does, just put it in the chat and we'll check it out. And if it's something that we want to talk about further, or if it's a good question, I'll definitely pull it into the show and we'll talk about it. So that's pretty awesome. So let's get started. The beer tonight that I'm drinking is kind of nostalgic. So let me just give you a little peep here. It's Leinenkugel's. So it's the Snowdrift Vanilla Porter. Sorry for my beer cam is not the highest of quality, but at some point it will become better. But so if you guys don't know, I'm on the East Coast now in DC, but I grew up in Wisconsin. So Leinenkugel's has always been like a huge thing for me. They are everywhere. So you can get this stuff at every gas station and whatever. But since I moved to the East Coast, it's been like impossible for me to find this particular beer. And my lovely wife found a small shop that had it in stock. So we drove like 40 minutes to go pick up a few 6-packs. So it's nostalgic. I'm excited to drink it. So cheers to you guys. Woo! Cheers. And with that, I have the pleasure of introducing my guests for tonight. I have Max Butterfield here today. Max is an incredible dude. I don't know if there's anything he hasn't done. So he is the streaming engineer for Machine Shop Live, which is an incredible, streaming platform for bands. It sounds amazing, and it's run by the producer named Machine, Gene Friedman. So if you're familiar, he has done some huge names in metal and weird electronic music like Mindless Self-Indulgence. So it's pretty cool that he's working directly with him. Max also designs guitar amps, super knowledgeable guy, and he has an amazing podcast, which we're going to talk about. So without further ado, I want to bring Max on. So Max, welcome to the show, my man. How have you been?
Hey man, I'm doing pretty well, thanks. Sorry, I'm like swallowing the last of my dinner.
The last bite.
Yeah, no rest for the wicked, man.
That's right. Yeah, I was trying to ambush you. I was kind of keeping an eye on your webcam to make sure I could pull you into the show at the exact right moment when you were like trying to swallow the last bite of your food. So you know me. Yeah. So okay. First of all, you're in Austin, Texas, right?
Boy, am I.
What the hell is going on? Like, so you've lost power?
And I have a sweatshirt and beanie on inside. That's what's going on.
Oh man, so crazy. So I know Houston got hit really hard. How are you guys faring? Cold.
You're cold. Austin's infrastructure has been destroyed.
Oh, man.
It just straight up cannot. I was without power for. So I've been really fortunate. I just moved into my first home.
Oh, congrats, man.
Thanks, and it's a new build, so everything's in good shape, and I have done my darndest to keep all the pipes and everything. Um, but it's there are a lot of people that have been far less fortunate than me. Like I lost power for 2 days, like 2 full days, and then there's some people that have still don't have it.
That's right. Yeah.
Um,
So is it just because everybody's furnaces are electricity like based, not like natural gas, and then the grid's just overwhelmed? Is that
um,
basically what's happening, or is that like it's so crazy?
well, so Texas's power grid doesn't is completely disconnected from the rest of the continental United States, right? So when something goes out, we can't like get power from anywhere else. Um, so if lines go down or whatever, we're kind of stuck.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that the power came on just in time for the
Ugh.
show because, man, cutting it down to the wire.
It's been I mean, I have a I have a very deep British heritage, and they're very resilient people. But also my 3% Norwegian is very prominent. So I've been pulling on those,
Has it?
thinking warm thoughts. I have very little of my life has been spent in cool climates. So
Yeah. So has this affected Machine Shop Live much? Like, because I mean, you guys rely on power. I mean, you're a streaming platform, right?
yeah, well, so actually that hasn't we're not like doing any live streams at the moment. So like it's I mean power's been out since Sunday night, Monday morning, like 2 o'clock Monday morning. Is when it went out for me, I think. Um so with that, like I mean, we didn't have anything lined up for this week. Like sometimes we like kind of do them in batches and stuff, and so that's not what like I mean, just not in the schedule right now.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Well, at
fortunately,
least there's that. I mean,
yeah,
is
yeah,
is so what has like I'm imagining like so we should probably talk about Machine Shop Live in general, right?
yeah,
Since a lot of people probably haven't heard of it.
yeah. It's Machine Shop Live is. I think it's a very cool. I mean, I'm biased, but um, Machine Shop
Coming from
Live.
the performer, the musician in you, right?
Yeah. Well, I actually got to say, so I'm not drinking a beer. I'm drinking a Bang energy drink. But I have my Sons of
Bang.
Texas koozie. One of the bands that we've worked with there, awesome guys. I would love to rep them and give a shout out. We've had nothing but fantastic bands the entire time, of all the ones we've done. And we've had some big names too, like the Contortionists and Fire from the Gods, and like it's been a lot of fun. But
Yeah.
one thing that really resonates with me about Machine Shop Live is there are a lot of people doing live streams, right? Um, there are, I mean, everyone is streaming all over everywhere right now, which, that's just kind of the age we live in, but no one makes a live stream sound good. So,
It always sounds like a band practice, right?
yeah, it sounds awful. I mean, it's like you had like these 6 guys that like got together in their garage, and like you can tell it's a garage because it sounds like a garage and it looks like a garage. But the machine shop, or the barn as we affectionately call it, is a beautiful space. So we've got everyone like in this like really good looking space, but then at the same time we've got everyone mic'd up and like really like all the production done that such that we have control enough to do like actually a very good mix.
Yeah, I've heard, I've seen a bunch of the live streams. It's super impressive what you guys can do.
Thank you. Yeah. So, I mean, so we have the live stream, which is like actually live mixed by Julian, who is he's kind of like he's the head engineer at the machine shop. So he's like live mixing it. I'm doing the live video switching, and then so it's the two of us, and then there's also Isaiah, who's another engineer there.
Shout out to Isaiah. Yeah, he's part of the A team, the music A team homies.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I'm kind of bummed I wasn't on the A team, but oh well.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm happy being on the B team,
Hey,
but
you're honorary A team, okay? Yeah. So
yeah. So then so what we have out on YouTube is um like an edited. I mean, I actually don't see a whole lot of the stuff, like, because I do all the cameras and file transfer and stuff, and then um Isaiah does the edits for the video, and Machine does the mix, and that's what you see on YouTube.
man,
Like,
yeah,
aside from the live part.
yeah, it sounds amazing. It's super impressive. So if any of you guys out there listening have not um checked into Machine Shop Live or heard of it, so you have to type into YouTube, go do it, hit the subscribe button because like the bands that come through and I mean, it's just such a well put together thing. And like I said, I think you guys are pioneering this because I haven't seen anything even nearly like this well produced, like ever, especially
Uh,
for music. It's amazing.
I mean, the closest thing we've seen is Audio Tree. I don't know if you're familiar. I mean, like, they've done
No.
like Radiohead and a whole bunch of other cool bands, but you know, we have ours that, I mean, I think sounds better. I mean, but you know,
Man,
take
you're
that with
biased, man.
I, yeah, you know, I'm well aware of that.
So
But
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
oh, I mean, I was gonna say we also have it in conjunction with Patreon. So we have a Patreon for Machine Shop Live, because there's like the band doesn't like literally roll up and then like their amps are already set up. You know, there's a whole there's a whole
Yeah.
process. Anyone who's played a live show knows exactly what I'm talking about. There's like a whole process that goes into like miking everything and whatnot. And then we go out of our way to actually like produce a bunch of content for people who are into that stuff. So if you're a studio person and you're like, man, I really wonder how like I could get like drums that sound like, gosh, I don't know, Sons of Texas or the
There you go.
Contortionists or
Yeah.
Fire from the Gods, you know, like any of these bands. Uh, we have a Patreon for that walks you through exactly how we mic the drums.
That's cool.
Or
So then you
guitar
pay your
playthroughs,
donation, right? And then you have access to all that content. That's
yeah,
cool.
and there's a bunch of different tiers. You know, if you're into t-shirts, you know, you can do that. There's uh, there's we're actually moving the live streams to a Patreon only sort of thing. So like
Mm.
you can see it on YouTube, but if you want to see the interview with the band, if you want to see the individual interviews with the like gear rundowns and stuff, if you want to see like those sorts of things, then you will need to subscribe to the Patreon. Like, you'll always be able to get to, as far as you know, unless something's changed, you always will be able to get to the YouTube video like that's published, but the live stream itself will be Patreon only.
Yeah. That makes sense, right? You guys have to do something to pay the bills. So
Yeah.
yeah, I will say, so we have some people saying some things in the chat. So we have Isaiah saying, Max, how do you keep that beard so fire, man?
Oh, thanks, Isaiah.
A lot of beard oil.
Yeah, actually, I've got a barber. What's his Instagram handle? At Faded by Phil. He does a great job. I'll shout out to him. He kills it, man.
Yeah.
At the Bearded Barber ATX. But I'm just fortunate. My father is a hairy man, and I inherited that. Yeah, all my brothers and I are very hairy. So,
My beard is like awful. Like I just you can even see it like in the lighting here. Like I have all these like patches. We call it the Balo patch. Like my brother's got them. It's just like we could probably grow a wicked stash, but that's about as far as it goes.
Hey man, that can take you pretty far.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You could wax the little whiskers on it. Yeah.
Dude, before this last trim, I could get it like up to here. My mustache was huge. It was so big.
That's awesome, man. I didn't want to have to talk about this because we have all this cool stuff to talk about, but my buddy has the world record for most clothespins on a mustache.
What is the record?
I don't know. It's like he's got like 40 clothespins on his mustache. Shout out to Matt O'Clair, wherever you are. If you're here, that'd be amazing. Type in the chat. We want to know how many clothespins before we break your record, man. Nate also popped in. He said he loves Audio Tree, but Machine Shop Live's bringing the heat, man. So yeah, you guys are definitely doing something right. So that's awesome. So I was curious, like, so in your opinion, do you think a lot of bands are doing this? I really haven't seen a lot. Maybe, like, do you think this is like a big market for bands that's relatively untapped, or are you seeing like a lot of this live streaming? Because I've been kind of blind to it.
So yeah, actually, there are a lot of big bands that are doing it, right? So there are a lot of gosh, and I cannot think of any of them off the top of my head.
It's all good, man.
It's actually kind of opened up it's like a virtual venue business, which is really kind of cool. We worked in conjunction. We did a live stream for Sunny Sweeney, who's a Texas country artist. She's done a bunch of Nashville and stuff. But we did one with her that wasn't Machine Shop Live. It was just like a monetized live stream, and we give all of the people who all the bands that do Machine Shop Live with us, like, we give them the option to monetize it, because, like, you're a band, you need to make a buck.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, we give them that option. But there are a lot of people that are doing it. There are a lot of people that are just like going on Facebook and going live, which, depending on your audience, that could be really helpful. Like, if you have that, like, if your vibe is that intimate connection sort of thing.
Yeah.
But if you are a larger band and, like, you're needing to make money off of it, like, you should be working with the production team like us.
Yeah.
If not us, someone like us, and that will get you to the reach and the quality. I mean, more so the quality. I mean,
right. Yeah.
Because it's not just something that, like, the stream itself, like, you're also creating content, and bands need content. I think that's something that's just like the elephant in the room, but everyone's afraid to make content.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting, because, like, think about it. When you're on tour as a band, the content is just like continuously flowing, right? There's not a big like, it doesn't take a lot of effort to generate mass amounts of content if you're traveling in a van or a bus across the country, or in some cases the world, and you have all these live shows. It's so easy to kind of drip that stuff out, but COVID, like, we're in a pandemic, it's not the same game anymore. And so now there's, like, you really have to put in effort for a band to come up with content. And like you said, this is like such an easy way. I mean, you could just do a whole live stream and then chop that up and, drip out like a song a week or something, and
it's easy.
It just seems like such a good idea. But man.
Yeah. Well, so but also we've set this up because once COVID is over, we've got it set up that, like, you come in, you're on tour. People that play Texas are, like, you usually hit, like, Houston, San Antonio / Austin, and then Dallas as well. And you usually have an overnight somewhere in there. So you can, like, also, like, figure us into the plan.
Yeah.
So, like, you come through and have this, like, interactive experience. Like, I mean, say you have fans in Europe, like, you can hit those fans on your tour. Or, like, you're not just getting, like, standard tour content, which I think is very cool. Because, like, it's not just the performance, it's the interview, it's the gear stuff. And really, you can make whatever you want. That's part of the flexibility, is, like, we're there to, like, facilitate, but also enable you to create the type of content that's useful for your fans. Like, say you're, like, really into barbecue, like, and, like, we'll talk about barbecue. Like, we have a grill, like, we'll do that, and it's a good time.
Yeah. Also, so speaking of that, so we've actually a question from Ben Johnson. He wants to know if Mudge still barks during every single live stream.
So, if you were, I'm not sure how much of him I wasn't really paying attention, but he was in here. Mudge is my dog. He's a giant black lab mix. He looks like he's mixed with Great Dane. He's not. Well, I
Yeah, at least you don't know, right?
well, he was allegedly a miniature labradoodle, and I got some family got him, and he just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. He's like 75 pounds now.
Oh wow,
Um,
big dog.
oh, there he is. There, hey,
What
yep.
up, Mudge? So does Mudge? So does he still bark? Does he?
He doesn't come to Machine Shop live
No,
sessions anymore.
he's banned. Is he the
Yeah,
only band? Is he the only band being at
no,
Machine
he's
Shop,
not
or are there other?
officially banned. He's not
Yeah.
officially banned. He could still come, and he has. Like he'll come sometimes when we're like doing a record
Mm.
at the Machine Shop because like I mean he's a good hang. He's a great
Yeah,
dog.
he's a therapy dog, man.
He's
Eh,
the bands love him. He loves it. Gosh, it's a
yeah,
win-win.
yeah,
But he, he he's just really excited about everything.
yeah. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, being
Yeah.
a possible issue during the songwriting process. But no, yeah, there's so many like studio animals out there, studio birds and stuff. Like it gets it gets wild. So I was gonna ask, so if you were a band that wanted to do live streaming, like
Mhm.
better quality than Facebook, better than like your cell phone in the middle of a band practice, like do you have any recommendations for people that are trying to get into this? Like what are some like low cost like ways to get into this? And if there's like a more expensive, more pro way of doing it, what would you recommend? Like, is it GoPros that work fine? Can we do cell phones? Like, how does this work?
GoPros are great. If you have a GoPro, that is a good way to go. Cell phones actually can be very good. Like the new iPhones, they're killer. They look
Okay.
awesome. Um, excuse me. So like we've used iPhones, we've used GoPros, we've used DSLRs, we've used Zoom Mix's camera, and I cannot remember the model of it. It like kind of sucks, but also like is also really good sometimes. Uh, so we have kind of your budget level like is how you want to like how many cameras you want. Like how many cameras can you attach to your computer? Do you want a hardware interface that's going to attach those cameras in? Like we have a hardware interface. So I'm like physically touching buttons like to switch
Okay.
cameras.
Are
I'm
you using a
routing
Stream Deck or something, or
I'm using a Roland. I cannot remember the model.
Max?
Um,
Your lack of details are killing me. No, just kidding.
I am
So it's like a
I'm not a
legitimate.
video guy. I have to learn all this crap, man. Like
How did I get here? Yeah,
I'm a quick study and like I I'm down to learn stuff.
no,
But
it's so cool, dude. You have to get out of your element, otherwise you don't grow as a person. Like if you do the same
yeah,
thing, it's what's the point? Like yeah, you can.
absolutely.
You have to get out of your comfort zone. So more power to you. I just like giving you crap.
I appreciate it, Bobby.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, so it's basically about the number of cameras. So I think, do you
Well, so
guys have microphones that you're using? Can you get away with a camera mic? Like,
so it's twofold. So like cameras, right? If you want like different angles, or if you have like one guy that's filming, like doing like action videography. I mean, that's a good way to do it. That's a lot cheaper if you have like a pal that's good at video. Um, Definitely want to have like a gimbal or some sort of steadying mechanism. But yeah, you really do. If you can run everything through an interface, we run through ours through our console, and that goes into our audio interface. So like when you're hearing the live stream, the like live stream, it is like that is what Julian is mixing through our Midas console. So like everyone has their own like custom in-ear mix. Everyone
man.
like we have like you see my Laney cab right here. Like we have, and it's like an ISO booth. We have like physical, like with physically different foundations, isolation booths that we're running our cabs through. And so those are mic'd and then going into the console. We have like the drums mic, like really usually the only thing you can hear is the drums. And like like if you're in the room, right? So
it's a
that's why
whole different experience for you guys. Like you,
absolutely,
oh man, that's wild to think. Because you watch it live and you're just like, man, like you just imagine it to being like a concert there, like, but
yeah. Well,
yeah, it's
but it
definitely not the
sounds like modern.
case.
Well, it's like a lot of modern stage volume. Like you're playing a show nowadays, your stage volume's so low compared to what it used to be, right? So
Yeah,
like,
that's
'cause you
true.
don't need to have a 4x12. Like you can play you can play like a reasonable size venue with like a 20-watt amp, and
Yeah,
it mics or has a DI out, and you're good to go.
that's
Um,
true. I always forget about that because I
yeah,
haven't been
it's
to a live
really
show
nice.
in like, I don't know, like a year and a half now at this point. Like,
Yeah, I mean, like the most of the gigs I've played, actually the only gigs I've played since moving to Austin, I've been here 3 years now, have been jazz gigs, and so like no one's micing anything, It's like, um, it's just that's very traditional. But like I was like a working musician before moving here, and gosh, it was so nice to like be able to lower stage volume down, and like it
just
was.
not blow your ears out.
Gosh, yeah,
Yeah.
I've like my ears have physically shut down before.
Oh man.
I remember I was in high school, I was doing a sound check one time, and I had a 4x12, and like my right ear would like I was sound checking, and like I was on stage left. So like my right ear is facing my cab when I look over the bass player. And so like I stopped, I couldn't hear anything. So like I like go over to my cab, and like I eventually have my ear right next to it, and I couldn't hear anything at all.
Oh
And
no.
I was like talking to the sound guy. I was like, "Is everything okay?" He's like, "Yeah, it sounds great out here, man. Like it's like great." And I was like, "Okay."
I think I need to
So,
go to the hospital.
so your ear will shut down to protect yourself against
Mm,
things. Fun
that's
fact. And
yeah, it's crazy.
I have excellent hearing. Like I can hear up to 20 kilohertz. Like I have very, very good hearing. Um,
I
full
just got
show.
my ears checked last week
Oh,
because I was
nice.
concerned. Like, what if I'm doing all these records and I'm like, I can't, like, my ears are all messed up. I want to make sure like my left and right were like
Hmm.
similar and all this. And yeah, so my ears are pretty good, but definitely, if your mixes are a little on the bright side, it's because there's a little bit of hearing loss there in the higher frequencies.
You
Probably from playing
physically
in
rolled
bands
off
my
that
whole
top
life and
end.
not wearing earplugs all the time. So
Yeah, you really need to. But
lesson
like,
learned. Don't make
yeah,
that mistake. So this is like a perfect transition for us because I want to talk about guitar amps and like how you got into designing them, like what style of amps you're playing with now, like everything, man. This is such a cool thing. I don't know any other amp builders, so
oh,
you gotta
well, so I don't think a lot of people. So I mean, a lot of people that are close to me know this, but like a lot of people I know through audio don't know this. I have a degree in electrical engineering, um, and I've worked as like doing analog circuit design. So
well, that's a
I
home run for guitar amps. I think that's kind of the prerequisite.
it absolutely is. Though in school they don't teach you anything about tubes,
It's
so
old
it's all
technology. Why would you ever need a tube?
I don't know, old ancient technology. That stuff's like completely obsolete,
Right.
right? Uh,
Except it sounds awesome in a guitar
and
amp.
gosh, it distorts so well. Oh, it's good.
Great. We're about to get nerdy, ladies and gentlemen. Just warning you.
Yeah, also like yeah, because they distort differently. Like you get different harmonic content from distorting a vacuum tube than you do a transistor. So fun fact: transistors distort with even harmonics, and tubes distort with odd harmonics, or
Really?
have their own.
There's no way to go around that.
Not really.
Huh.
I
Well,
mean,
that sucks.
they have their own character though. Like I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
people dog on they dog on transistor distortion all the time, but like they're also using a tube screamer.
That's true.
Like
There's no tubes in a tube screamer.
no, there's not. And
So
like, if you're not using it solely for a boost, like, I mean, so if you're only using it for like only a clean boost to drive your tubes harder, then like, sure, okay, I can get what you're talking about. But gosh, the whole clone thing,
oh yeah,
transistors, like,
Anthony's ready to get nerdy, by the way.
bro,
So
I am here for it.
yeah. So okay. So first things first. So you got your degree in electrical engineering.
Yeah.
And so you have this huge knowledge of analog circuit design. You're a guitar player. It makes sense that you're naturally curious about this kind of thing. So like when did you start actually designing amps or building amps? Like at what part, how did it start? Did it start with like building like effects pedals and then you kind of progressed on amps, or were you like, you know what? I'm just going to build an amp like right now and it's going to have 18 tubes in it. Like what was the progress like?
Sorry. So actually you hit it. Like, so when I was in high school, I mean, I think it's a fun story, but I'm a nerd. I didn't know, I didn't know what electrical engineers were. I really, was interested in, I was taking like higher level physics and math classes, and I was interested in like how my guitars and guitar amps and stuff worked. So like I did like a bunch of guitar like pickup stuff and wire routing in there, and like would go in after school and like talk with my physics professor and like, hey, how does this pickup work? How does the electricity and magnetism like induce current? Like what's going on here? And like learned about electricity and stuff. And I was in pre-calculus, and the teacher was like, oh man, the clock is so fast. Like, I don't understand why. And I was like, well, it's probably not designed to be like running the right, like either you're putting too much voltage into it, or or it's like designed with like an improper tolerance, and like, there's anyway. So like, one of my friends leans over to me and he's like, dude, you should be an electrical engineer. And I was like, huh, okay.
Yeah.
And like,
done. That's life goals.
I mean, I was either going to go to music school or go to like get an electrical engineering degree. And I got into two schools. I got accepted to Berklee College of Music.
I mean, that's no joke, man. That's huge.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, as a guitar player, and then also I got accepted to BYU, and I was like, well, I don't need a degree to play rock and roll. So like,
yeah, hell yeah.
I'm gonna like, if I'm not gonna go to like Berklee, I'm gonna like get a degree that's gonna like enable me to do other things. Because like I can still play music and be very involved with that. And like, and I played music all through college. Like as a working player, taught lessons, did a lot more gigging than lesson teaching, but like played jazz at school, and played in ska bands and metal bands and punk bands and all of it. Yeah. Corporate events, you name it. So but I met this guy because I was in college and I was working on this pedal. It was actually it's this guy.
Oh, nice. Yeah, let me give you the zoom lens here.
Ooh. Yeah, it's a build your own clone octave fuzz. I am a sucker for octave fuzz. Oh yeah, you can in that zoom out, zoom in, you can see I've got all my pedals over here. I'm gonna not move my computer, and then like a couple amps down there, and then the whole rack of amps up here. Got like a Twin, a Laney, a Marshall, a Supro, like super dope stuff.
That's awesome, man. I'm drooling over here. I got some guitars right here, back here. I do.
Oh yeah, me too.
I have a Marshall hiding back here. You can kind of see it. Oh, there it is.
Nice.
So
nice.
I still represent the guitar player a little bit, even though I haven't really like played guitar. I've just been mixing records and stuff recently. But
yeah, man, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
So
I mean, anyway, but so I'm like working on this pedal, and like one of the guys in the electrical engineering shop is like, hey, you need to meet this guy named Reed. And I was like, okay. And so like a week or two later, I met him, and like it was like one of those things where it's like, whoa, this dude's like going to be in my life for like a long time. So we started like talking like I mean, guitar amp circuits, like guitar amp and pedal. We did a lot of pedal stuff starting out, but he had like rebuilt his 5150, which is actually, I bought off him at one point. It's a 5150 signature combo that I'm going to put into a head form factor at some point. But we started talking about that. He called me one like Sunday night. He's like, dude, I got this idea for these like high voltage tube preamp pedals. And like, I'll spare you all the tech details on that because that is a rabbit hole that we will not get out of. Anyway, we ended up starting a company. BYU picked us up as part of their startup accelerator program, paid legal fees to get us incorporated as a business, put us through this program, which taught us all sorts of business stuff. And like, we met investors and like entrepreneurs.
Oh man, dude, this is so cool.
Yeah. I mean, it was wild. That period of my life, I was that summer. We'll just talk about that summer. I was going to school part-time. I was taking like an embedded programming class, like programming FPGAs in Verilog. And so I was doing that. And then that's some low level crap there, man. Like literally low level. And I was doing that. And then I was working at the electrical engineering shop as a tech, like repairing equipment and selling parts and all sorts of stuff like that. And then we had a third guy with us for quite a while. So I would work with him during the day when I wasn't doing homework / class or working like my job. I'd work with Steve. And then at night I would work with Reed at our office space. And so like I was literally burning the candle. Like I was averaging actually about 4 hours of sleep a night for a long time. And like
bad habits, man.
It was really, like I look like I'm 40, this is why. It's not a surprise. I'm bald too. I mean, so
see, that's what happened to me. I stopped sleeping, got in this hustle mentality, and then all your hair falls out. So lesson learned.
It's fine. It's easier this way. But we went to NAMM. We got, we presented there, had some really cool experiences. We met, Reed just posted in the chat, it was the best summer of our lives, dude. True. We almost died like a couple of times. I shorted a transformer across my hand the night before we were presenting. Like, boy, it'll
wake you up.
Gosh, it did. Yeah. It did.
My brother does maintenance on. He's like electrician, and he's got some fun stories about working on live lines, and it'll wake you up.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like we met, we made good friends with Phil X, who's Bon Jovi's guitar player. He got us into the famous Warwick factory opening party, which was really fun.
Oh, awesome, man!
Yeah, got to meet Victor Wooten there.
No way! I'm a huge Victor Wooten fan.
Oh yeah, he's super cool.
Oh man, that's so cool.
I have a photo with him. Like that's most of our encounter.
Oh, that's amazing, man.
But yeah, I mean, like wild. That startup ended up falling apart. I mean, I was a junior in college. Like doing the junior core of electrical engineering is like no joke. But like that wasn't why.
So you're like 21-ish? Like how young were you? That seems like awfully.
I think I was 23. Like I took 2 years off.
Still, man, that's like a lot of pressure, especially when you're doing all that. You have a startup, like crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, if it's not worth overdoing, it's not worth doing. But yeah, like we were 3 engineers that just didn't know anything about business and marketing, and that was really hard. But fast forward like 5-ish years, we'll call it 5 years. That sounds right. Reed and I had always been in contact to an extent, at least, even if it was very infrequent. But we had this idea of building a guitar amp um, that is simple and elegant and is basically the ultimate gigging amp, right? So like there's a lot of people playing twins and deluxes and all sorts of like very expensive amps too. Not that a twin is cheap, but it's very heavy. Like there are problems with all of these things. We're like, hey, how do we make an affordable amp that's well balanced, that's small? You could, if you're like a gigging player in New York, you can like bring it, put it on your lap in the cab, be just fine. But it's also going to be like loud enough to play the gig, and it's going to take all your pedals super well. It would be an awesome backline amp. How, like, this is a tall order.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason why no one's done this yet, right?
I believe so. And Reed is a truly exceptional engineer. I like to think I'm very smart, and like to think I'm a good engineer. But Reed is like mad scientist level smart.
Reed, I'm gonna add you on Facebook, man.
You do it. Like, do yourself a favor, add Reed on Facebook.
Yeah.
So he has all these crazy ideas, and it's a good time. And sometimes I'm just like, Reed, no, like we can't do that. That doesn't make sense. Or no one cares. Like that's really cool, like academically, but like that won't. It's like raising your snare like a half a dB. Does that sell you more records?
Yeah. No. Right. No.
So a lot of our development is Reed having these crazy / brilliant ideas and us talking through it and collecting market research. I think we're doing it different. I think our design, and I'll talk about what this amp actually sounds like in just a second. But one of the things that I think sets us apart is the method that we are going through to design this. I work in, so like I have a day job. Like I'm a very busy person because like I have a day job in addition to amp design, podcasts, Machine Shop Live, my own, like I mix records, like all that stuff. So in that I work in 5G semiconductor test. So like
5G, like the stuff that's causing coronavirus, that kind of 5G. What do we?
Don't you forget start.
All right, sorry. All right, continue, please. Yes.
Yeah, but like it's cutting edge stuff, and so like there's just a lot there. Like there's a mentality for like working with big corporations because like my company works with other huge companies to like enable them to be successful in developing their product. Basically, I'm like on loan to this other company to make them successful in their product. As an electrical engineer, Reed works for a motor company and he is a project. I mean, he's a project manager effectively. He works for Ford. I'll just say but he's responsible for the reboot of the Lincoln Aviator.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, like that's Reed. Exceptional person. So, with that, like we've learned a lot of process and we've learned how to do things really well in like a meticulous, thorough way. Like one of the mistakes we made as young entrepreneurs was not making decisions based on data. And it's very easy. Like say you're a studio person, it's so easy to just like make a decision based on like some hype or like some hearsay. Mm-hmm. I mean, like how often have you like really wanted to buy a piece of equipment without actually like knowing what it's going to do? Like really knowing, or like, oh, I'll buy this plugin. That sounds like a great idea. Yeah, it sounds like a great idea, but you don't need it.
Right.
Like you don't know how to use the 1176 clone you already have. Yeah. Like
yeah. Don't get me started because I've been going on like some rampages on YouTube about this kind of stuff.
Oh, really?
So, I'm with you, man. Everything should be an experiment, right? Let's use a little bit of scientific method here and actually figure out what sounds best for our music, right? So it's good to hear that there's other people in the world that are also follow the philosophy of science, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that goes like we're testing different, like we test different metals, different woods, different brands of capacitors, different like everything is worth, if it's worth including in there, it's worth us understanding thoroughly. There's actually, I think Nolly said it. It was a quote. It was the URM podcast, I believe. I think AL was interviewing Nolly, and Nolly said like, or could have been someone, whatever. But whoever it was said, make the decisions as if you're like, make the decisions you make as if you had to explain them to your like idol engineer. Like whoever you look, if you're like a CLA fanboy, like if you are an Andrew Sheps fanboy, if you're into Nolly, whoever, you like, why did you move that fader up? Like you have to explain it to him now. Why did you make that decision?
I love that. That's amazing philosophy. Right? Because you better be doing it for a good reason, right? Otherwise, why would you do it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And so like if we're like, yeah, we're gonna use 6v6 tubes in this, like why are we using 6v6 tubes? Like we could be using AL84s. Like what kind of transformer? Should we be using a toroidal? Should we be using like a standard EI core transformer? Like these are design decisions. These aren't emotion driven decisions. Like there is a correct answer for a specific application.
Yeah.
And we need to thoroughly understand that. I have a lot of speakers. Like, we're testing out speakers. We actually did runs to like see if we wanted to use aluminum versus steel chassis. Like, I mean, everything is a choice. And if something is important enough, then you'll design around that.
Yeah. So
our deliberate approach, I think, is going to make us successful. We have one of our prototypes in a guitar shop in Utah, and people keep asking to buy it. Like, I'm like, thank you, very flattering, but like, we can't sell you this. We need that.
That's awesome. Well, that's good proof of concept, right? Like that's the best kind of response you could possibly have. There's going to be a market if people are trying to buy it. Like, just give me the prototype one. I don't care what it looks like. Just it sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's been very flattering. But yeah, I mean, like we really wanted to make something that people would see value in. Excuse me. One of the guy that like owns the shop or runs the shop is a good friend of ours, and he's been playing in Matchless for 30 years. And he's like, I prefer your guys' amp. And we're like, whoa. thank you. So, I mean, like,
do you have who is the intended customer? What do they look like? Is this a high gain? Do you have multiple channels? What are we talking here?
All right, here we go.
Yeah, let's get into I want to get into it, man.
this is a low gain amp. So we wanted to like get into the market doing something. So Reed has done far more. I've done a handful of repairs over the years, but Reed has done a lot of repairs. So like we know these like old circuits and stuff, and the fallbacks, the drawbacks, I should say, and the pros to them. So like we initially were like hey, so like a Fender Princeton, low gain amp, classic tone. That's like, we're like, okay, so they're well, let me collect my thoughts. We kind of set out to solve three problems, right? Like portability, tone, and like aesthetic, which isn't like a problem, but it's something that needs to be very, very well thought through. And we wanted to solve the problem of portability for the gigging player, like the working player. Because that looks like a lot of different people. Say you play in bar bands, say you play jazz gigs, you're a club guy, you're in a cover band, you're in a wedding band, like say like you're in an indie outfit. Like there's a lot of people that are playing a lot of gigs, and like, I mean, you do owe it to yourself to not screw your pack up.
Yeah. I mean, those amps are so heavy.
It's true.
We had especially like a Fender Twin or something. My God, like, Yeah, we've dragged a few of those around in my day. Yeah, it's not
Under two head.
enjoyable. So how light are we talking? How light is your amp?
Our ooh. So we've get out of here, dog. Uh, I couldn't give you. So we're actually making some decisions. Like we're in the middle of. So Reed is going to be here next weekend. We're going to be building like 5 amps. He's picking up our custom built cabinets from a cabinet maker in Chicago. Like we have parts coming from all sorts of different vendors to me. Like there's a bunch of decisions that we have to make right now or in the next couple of weeks that will actually give us that figure. But think 12-inch speaker Fender Princeton size, 20 watts though.
Okay.
So not like a little 12-watt Princeton, but like a 20 watter. And that's like from our understanding, like that's enough to play most gigs. We do want to get into like some higher power at some point very soon, and that's something we've been working on. But like, you should be able. We've also been like playing a lot with like balance, where the transformers like physically sit and how we can like keep that electrically quiet.
Oh, okay.
So like you're say you have to carry this for 4 blocks, like it's gonna be like pretty comfortable.
That's awesome.
So
Make a nice handle that like fits my fingers, please. Don't just do like a
believe me,
band.
I have a huge hand. Yeah, I mean that's actually been Reed and I have talked at length about handles.
Awesome. Yeah,
Like,
so there's not going to be any like you guys are really doing all the details here.
Yeah, I mean
And
like it's like the LED colors, like everything is a decision. Like
yeah.
and is backed by this is our experience, this is the experience of people we know, and here's why we're doing it. So like, we wanted to get something so the sound of this is basically like imagine Mesa Mark 1 with like mixed with like blackface Fender Princeton that like can distort harder and cleaner than like a matchless.
Are you going to send me one of these, please? Sounds amazing.
It's pretty great.
Here's the thing,
actually,
like with
so we
amps like in that
selling.
with amps in that like range, I
Mhm.
feel like there's a good market because I always find that especially with like modern technology, amp sims, all these things where people are using software. Sure, the high gain stuff sounds fine, but I feel
Does
like
it
where
though?
there's a big
Does it?
disconnect is in that low gain kind of just breaking up, like the feeling's not there yet. And it sounds like this amp is like boop, perfectly situated for that kind of thing.
That's what we're going for. I mean, like I would love for these to be in like the New York City jazz clubs. I would love for these to be in the music schools. I'd love for these to be in like rehearsal spaces, like
Yeah.
backline amps. But also, you know, like the guy that like plays 6th Street in Austin, he doesn't want to like you can't park close to that. Like so he's got to carry an amp. Like, you know, we're trying to do those guys a favor
Yeah.
and like really enable them to like continue their career.
Yeah.
And give them something because a lot of people love pedals. You know, it takes pedals exceptionally well. That was one of our huge things that we needed to have. But I will say stay tuned because we've also it's got some Dumble vibes, but we've how do I say that? We've really kind of reimagined how you shape your tone by the way we've done our gain staging. So like if you're a studio guy, you understand gain staging and you understand like why that's such an important thing, right? But as part of that, that's how you're architecting your tone. Not just the gain, but well, like in how you like think of gain. But like mathematically, if you think about it in terms of upper frequency content, harmonics, that's your distortion. How are you distorting? Where is the distortion happening? And where, like, what frequencies are you accentuating where? So we can give you the most stripped down, easy to use, like streamlined interface as possible, but give you as much flexibility. We don't want you to go there because everyone goes into a guitar store, they plug into an amp, and they're like, they start playing something and they get really self-conscious, and so they start tweaking with their EQ. It's a problem. We have one tone knob. And from that one tone knob, there's a switch too. That's all of your control. And
that's so awesome because it gets rid of that analysis paralysis crap, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Our goal was to make it as streamlined and as easy to use as possible. So like really you plug in and it already sounds good. It's what the amp sims try to do, right?
Yeah.
You plug it in, hit a preset, you're like, cool, I can work with this. But like you plug in, you're like, not only can I work with this, I really like it. And then if you want to tweak a little bit, you can find that sweet spot that you love. So,
you're gonna have to come back. Do you guys have an idea? Any idea? Is this gonna be released this year, possibly? Is there gonna be oh snap!
Yeah, we're gonna
bring you back on.
What?
I said we're gonna have to bring you back on when this drops, man.
I would love that. Yeah, we're doing production models later this year. Kind of mid this year is our anticipation. Doing like a shorter, smaller run initially, and then we're gonna go, continue to grow up from there.
Oh man, that's so cool.
So
I know some people that would be very excited based on how you've described this amp. So I will definitely be plugging you guys.
Thank you. Yeah, reach out to Reed or myself. We're not in a place right now to have a social media presence. We're designing right now.
Yeah.
But once we've got that, yes, Anthony, these are hand built.
So is
by reading myself.
Oh, quality.
Yep. And
so you're going to be doing the repairs when.
Yeah, we will. I mean, if there's a quality issue, it's going to be us fixing them. Both of us are experienced repairmen. But we've engineered it so it's easy to repair. So
that's amazing. Man, we're running out of time and we have to switch. I want to keep talking about this amp stuff because it's so amazing. But I also want to mention your podcast because it's pretty amazing. It's called The Musician's Musician.
Yep.
So like tell everybody a little bit about that. And because I heard your the first episode. I'm not a jazz guy, but I fell in love with Tigran. So because of your podcast. So yeah, you got to tell people about this thing.
Yeah. So I'm a studio guy, right? I'm also a player, primarily a guitar player. One of my very best friends is a guy named Parker Spears. He and I have played in bands together, lived together. He is one of the very best guitar players I have had the pleasure of working with. It's truly a treat to work on his stuff. I've mixed a bunch of stuff for him. But he and I we get asked for recommendations a lot on like what to listen to. And so like we understand, there's, and people like, oh, what are you listening to? And we're like, oh, well, listening to this guy. And they're like, I don't know who that is. And we're like, okay, that's fine, whatever. But one thing we realized over a long period of time is that the people we listen to are very different than the people that other people listen to. And I say we as in me and you and Parker and probably most, if not all, of the people in the chat. Yeah. Everyone's listening to these different things that aren't out. If you are listening to pop music, you're still probably not listening to the same pop music that your average everyday person's listening to. And why is that? Like, you're listening for a different purpose. You're listening to different things. You trained your ear and your mind to like go through this different process. And so these different things, these different artists are attractive to you. And there's this kind of concept of the band's band or the musician's musician. It's like Radiohead, or like, if you listen to Radiohead, you're a nerd. Like,
yep, true.
you know, like,
that's one of my top 3 bands right there.
I love Radiohead. I mean, but like, there's a way to listen to these bands that is so much more accessible than people think. How do I say that? So, excuse me. That energy drink's getting to me. When you look at the music that people listen to, sometimes there is a household name that is like the influence behind that. Like, say you listen to like a Justin Timberlake record, there's going to be like some heavy Quincy Jones vibes in there, right? Quincy Jones, producer for Michael Jackson, among many others. Huge name. But like, who does Quincy Jones listen to? Right. I don't know. You know, like, who are your favorite artists listening to? Who's your vocal coach listening to? Who is like, the list goes on and on and on. And we wanted a way to help, to help educate people into getting into these bands that are, and artists in general, not just bands, that are making significant contributions to music and society, but people just don't know how to get into them, and they think it's not accessible. So we wanted to enable people to expand their horizons, their listening horizons, and make deliberate decisions about what they listen to.
Yeah, so that's a cool way. Like, from like my perspective of it is like, it's almost like you're using this as like a platform to introduce like the influencers of the bands that most people listen to.
Yes.
Right. And then you're able to deconstruct their styles, and then in a way, and you explain it in a way that resonates with someone who might not understand the complex theory behind it. And then you can then, from my perspective, I was able to like draw the parallels between the bands I like to listen to and these artists that are influencing everything. And it was just man, it was very eye-opening, like listening to your podcast, because there's so many amazing musicians and band. Like, it's, if you guys haven't heard of it, check it out. Musician.
Yeah,
podcast.
The Musician podcast. Thank you, Bobby. Yeah,
dude, it's cool. I love what you guys are doing. You and Parker are great. I love the banter. It's very you. I mean, it's like, oh yeah, this is awesome, man. And like I said, if you're trying to explore new music and just broaden your horizons on the people that are really moving the needle with this kind of stuff, check it out. Because I mean, it seems like every 2 weeks you guys have a new episode out. So it's always, you're just growing this amazing like portfolio of these influence. I don't know. It's really cool. It was very inspiring for me to hear it.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we're trying to create something that will help people get into these artists, but also, if you're into, say, Alan Holdsworth, we have an episode on Alan Holdsworth, and you're like, oh, I wish my friend could get it. Like, send the podcast to your friend.
Yeah.
Because like, we all have a hard time explaining this stuff, but like Parker have gone through, listened to the entire discography, analyzed it with our experience in songwriting and like production and just cultural reference, and like we do a lot of research for it to make the, and like analysis to make this something that will be useful to you as a tool, helping you help your loved ones to get into the music that you love, or at least understand it. Like, my mom listens to Napalm Death. Like, I was awesome, so floored. And she listened. I'm sure it had to have been something off Scum that she just found on YouTube, which is what we told you not to do. But man,
Yeah.
I was just so truly touched that she actually looked it up. You know, so but like if you can get an appreciation for these people, if you're like, oh, I didn't understand how like I didn't understand like a Tribe Called Quest, like their impact on music, on hip hop and like other genres, or like how, for example, their production is um like things that they do or did, I should say, are staples in like production, like recording and production now, but
Yeah.
we're not at the time. So there's like history, there is production, there is songwriting, there is some music theory. We try not to dive too deep into that, but we will talk about it sometimes. Um, it's
Sometimes you have to, you know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, so actually, in Parker goes in and talks a little bit about the Lydian mode in the episode that drops tomorrow. I mean, it's very brief, but like helps you like make a connection. Like, as if you're a studio person, you need to have an understanding of some like basic theory and like be able to talk about that stuff, but also you need to know the tradition. You need to know what's going on behind the scenes, who's influenced what. And so there, like, whether that's a theory thing or a production technique or a history lesson, we are helping provide that so you can be an informed, knowledgeable person in whatever you're doing, whether that's just being a casual listener or you are making your living off music.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. And so you have a new episode coming out tomorrow.
We
Can you
do.
tell us who it's about?
Yeah, actually, it's this crowd is probably going to be real into this guy, but we have an episode dropping on the extraordinary man himself, Devin Townsend.
Oh, snap. That's awesome. Well,
It's a good one.
yeah. That's
I
amazing,
listened.
man. So yeah, so everybody out there, in the show notes, I'll post links to Max's podcast so you guys can check that out. We're gonna have you back on here to talk more about the amps when you guys have some prototypes made. But man, that sounds so amazing. And then, man, the Machine Shop Live stuff, your day job, like your records you're working on, like it's amazing that you're able to do all this. And I'm just super grateful that I was able to steal you away from your busy life for an hour to have a good conversation. So
I appreciate it, man. Oh,
yeah,
it's always a good hang, Bobby. Like,
yeah. Thank you so
every
much,
time.
Max. Is there anything else that you want to tell people, like things to check out about you, YouTube links, social, anything, websites?
I will say, I mean, stay tuned for some Machine Shop Live stuff. Like, has its own handle. I mean, if you follow me, you will eventually see me like post a link to that. But Machine Shop Live has its own Instagram. Our amplifier company does not have a social media presence yet, but will. And then go follow us on Instagram for the podcast at the machine shop, the musician podcast. We at that handle, we also drop our list, like what we're listening to. So if you're ever like, I just like need something like different or whatever, like I post my stuff on Spotify. Parker posts his stuff to Apple Music. So you can kind of tell who's listening to what, which is rather telling if you know us. But yeah, I mean, like, definitely reach out if you like want to know more about any of this stuff. Always happy to talk, and if I can't help you, I'll connect you. But yeah,
Max is a great person to be friends with. I'll just say that. So definitely reach out. He's a kind dude. He's always helped me out when I've had questions. So, well,
and likewise.
Yeah. Thank you, man. So we'll have you on the show again. But yeah, I just thank you one more time, and to everybody who's watching, thank you for your time and attention. And we will see you again every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here I guess, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, all the fun streaming platforms. And we'll have another great guest for you guys to pick their brain. So with that, Max, appreciate your time, man. And everybody else, have a wonderful night. I'll see you, Max.
Take care, man. Thanks again.